Welcome to Dimension 119, a dimension where anything can happen. Prepare for the strange and unexpected. Enjoy today's episode.
I love how we start and Nate just disappears. As soon as I hit the live button, Nate's like, oh, I think I dropped something.
He does that thing and he just disappears.
It's a quick little bended snap.
What's going on, everybody? It is Nathan. It is Nathan with Dimension 119, and we're here for our just chatting Curse of Strahd. We finished last night, defeated Strahd, finished up the campaign, and some of us had some ideas we wanted to talk about, and just some things that we wanted to say about the game, and different plans that we had for the end that didn't happen. Kevin, that we thought we'd discuss with some of the other players, and just kind of talk the memories. I mean, we did this for
a year,
almost a year and a half. We streamed 39 out of 50 episodes. So it's been going a long time, and I know me, Nate, Derek, Tyler, who's graced us with his presence again for the first time in a while, and Kevin have tried at least 4 campaigns since I started playing with you guys and never been able to finish one. So this is a milestone for all of us, I think.
Oh, trust me, the only campaign I finished with Nate and Tyler was one that I had to force to be done because it was only them two at the end.
TPK doesn't count. TPK doesn't count as a finished campaign.
It wasn't.
No.
I had to stupidly dumb down a frost giant to where they could kill it with 2 people.
Still didn't. Still
You
didn't.
didn't do a good job then, Derek.
It was literally just Tyler and I.
It was a train wreck at the end.
Well, it's on brand for everyone.
I wanted to start this one off because with a question for Kevin and Nate. Since Kevin had to go back to work early last night, we didn't really get an end to Rajin and Caraxes. What do the two of them do once they leave Barovia? Where do they go? What are their lives like afterwards?
Practice is simple on that one.
he does what he's told.
Yeah.
I think that the ultimate goal is obviously to resurrect and release their master from the Hexblade that Raging carries. That's the ultimate goal. And we've had, Raging's probably had secret instruction that for that to happen, we need to find an ancient dragon to do it. Now, at our current level, we can't take on an ancient dragon, but we would need to power we need to take the power, the strength, the spirit of powerful creatures and beings to sort of power the spell that's required effectively. So there's obviously no more powerful than dragons, of course, right? So I think the plan would be that we see how Iris and Ordin are making plans to take over Barovia for the good or the ill of the people. Well, that's no longer their concern. They've collected a few powerful not souls, but
Essence, basically.
essences, spirits, while here. Their job sort of is done. Now it's the move on to the next thing, which, a dragon seems like a good time to have a go at. So, so I think that would be their goal. They would walk away from Odin, Iris, Ragnar, um, and I believe the mists have disappeared, right?
Yeah, the mist disappeared. The sky became sunny for the first time in hundreds, if not a couple thousand years. Like, it's the first peace that this region has seen in God knows how long, in generations.
I think it's even been oppressive for Raging and probably Caraxes as well. Even though they've not been here all that long, I think walking out under the open, clear sky for the first time since they've arrived, I think he would probably just stop and soak it in a little bit, especially being a dragon of the storms, of thunder, of lightning. He would certainly enjoy some clear, open, fresh air, and a clear sky. Then begin to make their way out of Barovia, and trying to find some direction to somewhere. Doesn't really matter where. There's dragons, as far as he knows, all over the place. So I guess he would become someone that would travel with Caraxes from village to village, town to town, listening for rumors of dragons, but then also taking on jobs to be like, oh, someone is causing you some problem here. How strong are they? Okay, we'll take that on. And problem solving, not exactly for the greater good of the cause, even though like doing good isn't but against.
Yeah, we aren't against it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not going to do bad things himself, but it's more self gratification rather than anything else. So yeah, he would travel with Caraxes. Perhaps their relationship has maybe grown closer. Maybe something that Odin said, and Raging perhaps seeing the value in comrades as well. Maybe he and Caraxes, although the creepy smile certainly gets on his mind, and he's got to learn to speak up. I don't know what's happened to his voice, but that's quite annoying.
Probably, I would see it as after Caraxes ends up leaving Barovia, like his body and physical traits start to go back normal. He doesn't have the curses that were bestowed upon him. Iris still does because she's still freaking there. But like those who have leave, like you lose the power that came with the curse, but you also lose the negative of the curse as well as you leave Barovia.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, I think some more advanced training for Caraxes in regard to his role in this two-person party, perhaps, would be important. He being the forward scout to find things out, Raging coming up and tackling whatever it is with the summoned Fae, and then Caraxes using his opportunities to get in and out, and
more tactical training.
Yeah. Trying to work out the best way to use the the two of you basically, the Fae and you a lot more.
Does Caraxus ever get over his jealousy of Drakey?
I think maybe if time goes on and Raijin starts taking the time to like focus on Caraxus's training, I think he would slowly kind of, because like I see Caraxus as still fairly young, as not just age but just in I guess life experience, and I think taking the adventures in Barovia and then also continuing on his training with Raijin, seeing that there's some type of potential to utilize him, I think Caraxus would slowly fall into the idea of I am an extension of Raijin's abilities, just like the Fae and just like the Specky and things. Yeah, just like Drakey and Specky. I think he would see himself as just he would kind of fall into the traditional role of I am a very valuable asset to Master Raijin, and it is my duty. He'll start developing that sense of actual duty once he starts understanding a little more of what that all entails. And I like the idea that maybe Caraxus would get to the point at a time where maybe he would petition to also dabble into the warlock kind of concept and kind of take after Raijin, and once he becomes more knowledgeable and develop that devoutness into the ideas that Raijin holds, I like to think that he'd just be all in, kind of
Pretty sure
the perfect partner.
To do that, you'd have to get your wisdom score up, because I think you have to have a certain wisdom score to multi-class into a warlock.
No, it's probably just charisma, I think.
Or is it charisma? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what else. I think maybe that's something Raijin suggests at some point, seeing your usefulness increase, and seeing that okay, actually, when he had that power, he was very useful, and okay, now that it's gone, there's a bit of a deficit, but there's a lot of potential there, and it wouldn't happen probably straight away, but I can certainly imagine it.
I think like years down the line.
Yeah, and so perhaps he would eventually say to Caraxus, like, I have spoken with the master. It's time for you to be imparted with the wisdom that he holds, and so his power. And he'd be let in on sort of the secrets and the ultimate goal and mission, and how it's got to go down. And then, Caraxus could branch off into some the warlock hexblade potentially, or maybe not in that. It can just be one of the other things, and just obviously flavored into the draconic way.
Right. Yeah, I like the idea that Caraxus starts to slowly fall into, I guess, for lack of a better term, just kind of fall into place on where he fits best with Raijin. Yeah, I think he in this campaign he was still really immature in the way that he's adventuring, because Raijin just handles everything. So even if Caraxus does like go down or gets in a sticky situation, he knows Raijin can just fix it. Right, as time goes on and enemies get tougher and we start looking for these bigger, more powerful enemies, I think Raijin would also kind of develop the knowledge of Caraxus and knowing why we're doing this. And just like when you're maturing as a kid, like you can get told stuff all the time. I'm like, yeah, no, this is a meaningful thing to do. But and you just one day you wake up and you realize like, oh shit, that's like a really meaningful thing to do. So I think Caraxus probably follows that kind of growing up.
Sweet. So
Kevin,
yeah, go ahead.
Kevin, you mentioned that if Orden beat Rajin, he would turn into a kobold. Was that a joke, or is Caraxus eventually the dragonborn?
No, that's 100%
No.
a joke. That had to be a
I
joke.
thought so, but also I was like, that'd
No,
be really cool.
It was actually something that I was toying with the idea with, that that actually Raging originally was a kobold, and that when he was given the power by his master, it was actually it actually turned him into a dragonborn, but originally he was a kobold. Like I've been toying with the idea, and I don't know if I would have gone with that, but I do like the idea of it, that his whole personality has been the way that it is because of he was Caraxis effectively. Perhaps maybe that's what even happens. Maybe when you're given the warlock power, you actually become a dragonborn.
Oh man, that'd be
and so Caraxis, and then all of a sudden it's two dragonborn running around rather than a dragonborn and a kobold.
Yeah, I still like to think that.
4 feet.
Yeah. Well, I think Caraxis would still, like, instead of like the big bulky dragonborns that you normally see, I see Caraxis as maybe like, if you take maybe a black dragon, right? How they have kind of like a long serpentine neck, he'd still kind of keep that style, just kind of a long, but maybe like hunched over and more skulky.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I'd see him.
Yeah, because again, like Raging's not the biggest dragonborn. Odin was much bigger. Raging was certainly more dexterous than bulky. Yeah, it was just his personality and belief that sort of, and obviously the magical power that came from that that drove his power and that made him.
Caraxis is just 6 foot tall Mushu.
Was that Cammy? That's great.
Oh, maybe. If she's in the chat, that might have been.
So,
who else wanted to say something?
Is there? I know Kevin kind of had an ending he was toying with, but I think we should save that like farther into the discussion because it's a really good one. Did anyone else have some type of ending that they were thinking about that, like, because I know we went at least 3 sessions knowing that we were fighting Strahd soon. Between the fight with Strahd, knowing it was coming, fighting his minions, searching the catacombs. So I know we were all thinking about the way the campaign was going to end.
Y'all die.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
And obviously that was all in our minds because I don't think any of us thought we're dumb enough to think that wasn't a chance. But was there any direction that you guys wanted to steer the ending that it didn't go to? Like, not necessarily that you're disappointed in how it ended, but something else you were thinking of.
No, I'm disappointed.
You're disappointed?
What?
I am disappointed because no, not necessarily. I'm disappointed that I'm disappointed that I didn't get to finger Strahd.
You did though.
Well, no, not the way I wanted to. I wanted to finger him to death and have him resurrect under my control.
Just because you missed the hole and got the cheek doesn't mean you didn't finger Strahd, okay?
That's true.
Oh, but it does though. It's not illegal enough.
If he doesn't make that little squeaking sound, woo, like that, it doesn't count.
If you didn't feel the prostate, it doesn't count.
Exactly. Caraxis actually becomes a doctor.
He's like, I found my life's true purpose here.
Hey, I'm Dr. Caraxes. I'll be checking you out today.
Yeah,
He's still got the sinister
he's got to do
smile.
it with the smile. Yeah. Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
So that's why Nate was disappointed.
Yeah, that's why I was disappointed. Fuck that game.
Well, to be fair, Nate, I really wanted to bone Strahd to death, and I didn't get to do that either.
Know. I
mean, I
know.
got to
It's
hit
a
him
sad day
once.
for both of us.
I got to give him one bone at least, but it wasn't enough. I needed more.
Mhm.
See, and one finger's not enough. You got to do at least a 3-knuckler.
If you don't get the thumb up there, like, why even try? Oh, stop.
Isn't this where you pull out the Vulcan or something like that?
No, you have to do that when you're inside.
Yeah.
Oh well, this is going off the rails real quick.
Wow.
Hashtag pull out the Vulcan.
You should have known better than to trust us with this, Nate.
So what did you guys think of?
I knew exactly what this was going to end up being. Just to be fair, just because I say it's going off the rails doesn't mean I didn't already prepare a ditch for the train to go into. Okay.
There's a mattress.
We've been digging this ditch all night for us to run through it.
So, what did you guys think of the actual final fight? Was it actually rewarding, kind of to an extent?
I liked it whenever Strahd started pulling out the charms because I was like, yes, he's being strategic.
I was like, I knew him being invisible the entire time would have been boring as fuck, and in walking through walls constantly would have been boring. So I kind of maneuvered him around, had him open the doors to get other creatures as much as he could involved.
No, I think that was a good play.
I tried doing a couple other things that didn't work out, but hey, that's how the rolls of the dice go. But
what did you do that you were like, oh, you guys don't see that happening?
I think maybe if he wasn't if he was invisible to start off with, so we start fighting, so we go into the catacombs, and we're walking around the catacombs, and Strahd's invisible, literally there with us, like doing creepy shit, and then we get to Rahadin, and we have that fight with Rahadin and the brides, and then hellhounds jump out, and the whatever else jump out at us to sort of trap us from both sides, and we're like, we just need to get to the coffin. He's in there. We just like
that'd be great.
Yeah, and so like we fight our way through, and while that's happening, Strahd's been watching us invisibly all the time, sort of thing, and then he joins in while he's still got his minions. It was almost like, okay, we fought a few minions, then we fought a bit of Strahd, then we fought a few minions, and then we fought a bit of Strahd. So it was almost always manageable.
I also think that if you guys didn't just obliterate Rahadin in like a turn, it would have made it a little more of a deadly fight. But
you're welcome.
It's like you guys just destroyed him instantly. It was like, oh, goodbye.
That Rahadin fight.
He never got to use the aura where he actually can do just periodic damage over and over again.
You know what would have improved it, Derek? If you brought my boy in, and you never did.
Well, there was no reason to.
Yeah, but what if he was like among the brides and he was just like being useless?
You mean Piddlewick?
No. He's my enemy.
I thought you meant Escher.
I was talking about Escher.
She does.
But then I was thinking, is she on about Piddlewick? Because
no.
we found Piddlewick's crypt, right?
Okay. You guys never got to Piddlewick.
You didn't find Piddlewick 2. You found the crypt of Piddlewick, but it wasn't the actual doll.
Piddlewick is like a fool that is like a construct of a creepy little clown. It's like
I'm so glad we didn't freaking open that catacomb.
No, he wasn't there. That was the
he wouldn't have been there. Piddlewick is actually up in like the one of the towers that you just didn't go up.
Hold on, I'll find a picture of him.
Picture this, guys. Picture this in the final battle. What if the Geese Man would have showed back up, like the undead Geese Man? Best Strahd fight ever.
Hmm.
Honestly, I really enjoyed the full catacomb scene. From starting in the catacombs, like searching around, and like every door that we opened, we knew that we were one step closer to fighting Strahd. It's like he may not be in the catacombs when we first came in. He may not be here, but there's going to be something here. And we
I
found some items, and we found some kind of mysterious things. And then when we got to the point where we saw Rahadin, it's like this is it, you know. And I think that like Kevin was saying, it was like, you know, boss fight, you know, lieutenant fight, right? Some minions, Strahd, minion Strahd. I think that was like, it felt like an entirely multi-layered combat, and that was something that I was really happy to see. It didn't feel just like a boss fight where it's like, all right, I got some legendary actions, I'm gonna hit you, and I'm gonna kind of maneuver, and then you're gonna hit me. It was really interesting.
hmm
At least for me. That's kind of the first real big boss fight that I've ever played in. You know, I've ran a couple interesting boss fights, but that was the first time I've actually played in one. I really enjoyed it, and that Rahadin fight with Rajin being the only one in the chamber there. I mean, that was
Like for
I
a
was
second,
on the edge of my seat, biting my fingernails.
when it first happened, it's like, oh shit, this could be bad, and then he just
Yeah,
kicked him out into the aisleway, and you just blasted him, and he was dead.
You know what?
yeah,
Well, strategically brilliant. I'll get you. So I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not
I
It
unhappy
was the
with
only
it.
way.
yeah, again, this was my first Hexblade that this first, not the first Warlock, because I played obviously Derek Rochambeau. That was my first Warlock because I've never really played a spellcaster. Um,
Oh, hey, Kevin, what
Yeah.
did Derek end up getting up to?
Derek Rochambeau.
Yeah, he came
died.
back alive. No, he came back to life, and
Oh
he was
shit, you're right.
Yeah, we rezzed him and left him in the inn.
Yeah, because he was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Derek
Forgot.
would have been traumatized by this whole event and affair. And with his patron now abandoning him, he that would actually mean that he's actually not funny. Um, and so obviously he would try and continue to be funny, but he's not funny. So I think he actually turns into the Joker.
Oh no!
It just
He
goes on, becomes chaos itself.
he becomes Iris's piddlewick.
That'd
Yeah,
be rad.
Does he
I-
venture out of Barovia, or does he just stay in Barovia?
Oh yeah. If he because he would have thought his whole thing was I need to get back to civilization, right? So I can start doing my gigs, start doing my shows. You know, I've got like these nobles wanting me to go to their court. I'm supposed to be here at this time for this event. You know, oh my god, I'm going to be late. Um, so that's his whole stick. But he starts going and he's just not funny anymore. You know, and he just cannot understand it. He doesn't understand it. He just doesn't know. Um, and so I think he starts failing, and he fails more, and then his reputation gets destroyed. Just slowly, gig after gig, reputation spreads, um, and then before you know it, he's like, you know, he's washed up. He's just a drunk alcoholic trying to be funny until he snaps, and then he snaps, and then he probably actually thinking about it, he probably snaps, and then joins it, gets into another pact with something else.
Oh my gosh, if it was Nathan again, that'd be hilarious.
Just him as a more an evil person, so he's willing to do more.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would probably work. Where it's like his patron comes back to him, but the cost of it is like extremely high now.
His name is like Kevin Kelvin now.
So we got Derek snapping and just becoming chaos incarnate. Rajin and Caraxus going on a lifelong journey of their ultimate goal is to kill an
Ventures,
ancient
yeah.
dragon. Iris is all right, having an alarm.
Means I can take my bandage off now.
Good job. Congrats.
Iris becomes queen of Barovia essentially, and just does her own thing there, with potentially Orden at her side as long as things are nice.
With Orden being a simp, yes.
Yes.
I was thinking that when Orden was talking, I was like, "Ooh, what a simp."
Yeah, he's bad.
Last night, Nathan, you mentioned that Ragnar would stay for a while, but wanted to go back home to tell the family and his people what happened and that Iris and him were okay. Does he stay? Does he go home permanently, or does he return and rule with Iris as like her general?
Actually, I don't know if Tyler's available right now. I think he said he was, but I'd like to know because I think he only has a few minutes. I'd like to know what happened to Soul, and maybe,
Yeah.
like, does the patron take over another body at some point, and if Tyler's thought about any of that before we go to Ragnar and stuff, because I don't know how long Tyler has. So
Not long.
Tyler had a patron? I don't know anything about Soul's
No,
character.
Tyler was the patron.
Of Derek. He was
Yeah.
Derek's the patron.
Yeah, he was like an archfey.
It's like
Yeah,
Kevin and Tyler pretty much they were able to play on off weeks of each other, so they inhabited the same body, just split personalities. Kevin was Kevin was the warlock that made the pact. Tyler was the patron, and they were.
He was sick.
Honestly, that's kind of lit.
That's awesome. It was an
Like,
awesome.
I like that a lot.
But unfortunately, it didn't last long enough because somebody got them killed. That person is dead.
Truthfully, it ended too early, and it is something that I would like to revisit. And I think that's something that Kevin and I would be a perfect match to do again because of how polar opposite we are as a player. So that would be something I'd be willing to revisit again. It is sad that it was cut
sad that you never got to play as Nathan, like while we were streaming.
I got to play it one time, and all I did was take his shoes off and throw him down the stairs, and then he fucking killed himself.
And you killed a coffin maker just instantly.
Yeah. Just it was terrible. But
just fucking just blew him up, dude.
That is something I could definitely revisit. Like I would be okay to revisit that idea. Obviously not the same concept, but
so
for sure.
What does Soul do when? Because she magically somehow left Barovia before the party did. So what does she do? Like what? And also, if you can go into your thought process of oh, I took the potions of invulnerability with me. I feel bad, and I'm going to give it back.
Oh, so the party did have the potions, right?
Yeah, we used one.
Yeah, we didn't use them.
The thing is,
I didn't even get hit after I used it.
To be fair, they failed. Since you never told them what they were, they didn't know what they were, and they couldn't figure out what they were, so they never used them.
So Soul, as we all know, she has the attention span of a kid with a fidget spinner. Think of Barovia as that fidget spinner.
I'm bored.
She's like, this is so cool. This is hip. And then after a while, she's like, man, this fucking okay. I'm gonna go find a new fad. I'm gonna go find me like boxes that I can push the levers and like jack them to push it back shut.
Tyler, listen, I don't mean to be that person, but I absolutely am using a fidget thing right now.
See?
But I'm Soul.
So what Soul did is one night during everyone's camp, she was like, you know what? I have the power to come in and out as I please. These guys seem to be stuck. I need a little bit more kick in my life. So she disappeared. So when she disappeared, all she did was go and try to look for further knowledge, further gains. Her whole purpose is to try to get better, try to get smarter, try to get stronger. So she goes off and she's studying in all these libraries and whatnot, learning new spells, progressing her knowledge. And she bumps into somebody and knocks one of the potions on the ground. And she had a soft spot in her heart for the little rodent that could, you know? So she decided, she was like, you know what? I would hate for the little rat to get hurt. You know what? Here, hold on. And she goes over in the library and she steals a book of some forbidden magic and is able to transport the items back into Barovia where they're located, however they found it. Because she doesn't know how, she just knows how to give it back to them. But that's how the party got the potions. But all in all, Soul's just wasting time and getting old and getting strong. She makes sure to start bar fights in the name of the little dwarf people. And she doesn't actually participate, though. She's the type of person that kind of like nudges the fight, like kind of instigates it. And then when it starts, she's like, oh, I gotta go. So that's what she's just being a fucking nuisance.
Sips some grass tea while she's at it.
Dude, that's the only type of tea in the world. No other tea. But in all actuality, it was a great character. I really enjoyed playing her. She had so much potential, but my job messed that all up. And honestly, I was really upset to not be able to play her because that was probably my second favorite character I've ever created. By like it.
Who's your first?
I made it.
Don't know. That character is not being able to be mentioned.
I made another warlock in the past, and I really liked that warlock. But Soul had so much potential, and the way she was able to communicate with each party member in their own way, she had her own weird relationship with each member of the party, which was intriguing. I liked it. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So hopefully I'll be able to revisit another character somewhere in the future. Again, both my ideas got cut short. Both weren't my doing.
Dude, let me just say, you could absolutely just have Soul show up at another campaign and be like, "Hey, I was in Barovia once. No big deal. I left. It was boring."
But instead of getting stronger, she somehow got dumber and is now level 40.
Yeah. Like one of the times she comes down from the meteor, she just hit her head a little too hard, you know?
You know what?
that-
Drugs will do that for you.
And she'll go like be with the party and be like, you know, I remember I was just throwing fireballs like they were nothing. I could throw 2 of them at once. Why can't I do that anymore?
Tyler, I'm telling you, whenever I do this campaign, the one shot in like 50 million years, you need to play Soul.
I like to think that
I bet
Soul got a
you're-
hold of. I like to think that Soul got a hold of that. You know that episode in SpongeBob where SpongeBob and Patrick go into the manta rays lair and they find like the orb is stupid.
Yes.
Soul got really curious and she just held on to that orb too long and she's like, and that's why she's level 2 now.
Yeah, she's like, "This is my new fidget spinner."
This is my new. It's like a drug. You just go derp.
No, she just flips it. Like just on, off.
She had it set to Wumbo.
Maybe Derek just killed her and demoted her to level 1 again in a party of level 10 characters.
Ooh, yeah. See, I want to hear that. I want you and Derek to go into that controversy.
Yeah, we all want to have 2 characters in every campaign.
But that was the thing. It's like they decided that they found out that they could resurrect party members if they so wished to do so, and they brought Ragnar's body to Kresk and had him revived. But I'm like, in my head, I can't have 2 party members be the exact, or have somebody play 2 exact level party members. There has to be some negative to being revived in Barovia. So
Derek,
Negative is my
there a
dice,
negative.
Derek.
Yeah, there is a negative. It's Nathan's dice. It just levels the playing field.
No, I loved the idea when Derek pitched it to me that Ragnar was going to be gonna lose his barbarian powers and kind of be nerfed.
It's
But
like you still had the health from those levels. It's just you just
half
didn't
of
have.
it.
Yeah.
But
It should happens.
It
I
felt
didn't-
weird. It
You
felt
pretty much
weird
nerfed
that-
the rage, so it's
Robot.
Ragnar and every day.
Tyler got off his couch again.
it felt weird that he lost his barbarian powers over his clerical powers.
Well, to be fair, he still had his clerical powers, but he was only a level 1. So me and Derek talked about that too, and it was kind of,
thing is,
from what I
like,
remember, it was kind of that loose connection. Like, because it was so small, it stayed there, and Barovia shut down the bigger source of power.
Right.
Well, the thing is, the way he had his barbarian flavored, barbarian powers came from his ancestors, where the cleric came from an actual god. So
Mhm.
he lost connection to his ancestors, not necessarily his god.
Yeah.
Kind of like Avatar Korra.
Mhm.
Yeah, basically.
But I liked the idea when Derek pitched it to me, and it's something that I thought was very plausible, but I didn't realize how useless Ragnar would feel after that.
Yeah.
Especially when you already have one other cleric in the party, and it's like they're doing a better job.
Well,
you're also
that
cleric.
Yeah.
and Ragnar was basically leveling at the same speed as everyone else. I think I got one extra level that you guys didn't. So I mean, I was a level 1. I think everybody else was like 6, 5 or 6 when Ragnar came back. So I was what, 4 or 5 levels behind everybody. So
You were just playing an extra NPC, basically.
Mhm.
yeah, and look, y'all. I tried.
It was still great, and it brought entertainment and excitement to the game. But combat-wise, yeah, it was a little lackluster and useless.
I tried my damnedest to get Derek to let me kill Ragnar again, and every time I thought I was gonna go out in a blaze of glory, Derek's like, "It's non-lethal damage."
Mhm.
I wanted Erston to kill Ragnar so bad,
That would have been
and
so fun. Yeah.
Derek just wouldn't let it
I-
happen.
I
I feel
like,
you on that
hey,
one.
I literally was outside the temple, like, "Hey, Iris, if Ragnar dies, what should I do?" And Nathan's just like, "Let him stay there."
For the love of God, please let him die.
I seriously
I
think
kinda-
Iris would feel that way though. Like after bringing him back from the dead the first time and seeing what happened to him, like
Mhm.
I don't think Iris would want that to happen again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can
I
imagine.
can see that.
I can imagine it would have been like Ragnar had his balls cut off.
That's basically what
I
happened.
mean, he already lost 1.5 dying the first time, so
1.5, goddamn.
1.5
Oh.
balls.
yeah.
How and he.
Iris and mostly Ragnar, but Iris and Ragnar both, I feel like almost died so many times. Like Orden went
Same.
down a lot, you know.
Orden died.
Yeah, literally, Orden died.
Several people went down a lot. Orden died once for like 5 seconds, but I feel like Iris and Ragnar were so close to death so many times. And I don't mean just like, oh, I passed out, I got to make saving throws. I mean like I'm about to lose a second character again.
Right.
Dude, you can't say that because that was literally me every single fight until I took that whatever it is that gives me a little bit of extra.
Yeah, you took tough.
I took tough, yes, thank you. And then I got the armor, and it was like, oh, thank goodness.
Ray, every time
That's how
except
you
for
know
the
they're
one
robots?
time that you went down, that there was somebody there to help you.
You can't even say that because I passed out like 12 different times.
And you were brought back up pretty much every time, almost right away.
Yeah, and one of those,
Matt-
Strahd, Nate, you weren't here for this. Strahd grabbed me and ran off with me, and I almost lost Orden that way.
Got napped.
That one was pretty rough.
That would have been so cool if that had actually happened.
It's like you would have been another Erston.
Yeah, basically.
But I would have, if that would have happened, I was like, at that time, I was thinking of flavoring it. Oh, you escaped, but you
Yeah.
would have instinctively, reality Ray would have been playing an evil character trying to lure them into places where
Mhm.
they shouldn't be. And
But you talked to
would
me
have been
about that, and I was like, "Yo, that's
it would have
rad."
been working for Strahd, but
I
with the
love that
part.
idea so much.
But he got rescued,
Mhm.
which was fine.
Yeah, part of me was just like, "Oh no, I'm getting kidnapped. I'm gonna have to come back and just lead you guys into dangerous areas. Oh no."
I half wanted to let Derek kidnap me that
Yes,
when we
that
first
too.
got to the castle. I like so much of me was like, I wish he would just kidnap me. Like, because he's already halfway there. He's got me grabbed and he's running me off, and I'm like, but like, I just can't.
Yeah, you
You
can't
know,
let yourself
I
do
can't
it.
force
Like,
it.
if it happens, it's cool and
Yes.
unique. But
If it happened,
So-
I would cheer for joy.
Mhm.
So, Nate,
Yeah.
OG Nate, how did you find playing Caraxis? Because obviously Caraxis was originally my creation as a tool to explain why raging wasn't always there with the party.
hmm
And then you came in and you was happy to sort of go, oh, okay, yeah, I can play sometimes and maybe casually I'll just lurk around.
hmm
So how
Yeah.
did you
So
find?
and then you became a full-time player, and you're like,
Mhm.
you took the character as your own and made it you.
Yeah. So
I
how did
I
you?
tried.
How did
Yeah.
you? Yeah. How did you find it?
So I mean, when I first started with you guys, it was I was talking with you all. I'm like, hey, I got a little free time. We should start playing D&D again. I had no idea you guys have been playing a full ass campaign for the last year. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Just leave me out of the loop. But that was almost all of my fault there.
Yeah,
I
you
just
leave
got caught
yourself
up
out
with
of the
life and
loop.
stuff. Yeah. Um, but when I came back and I was, I watched a stream. I think it was the stream that Ragnar came back. I could be wrong,
That was right
or
before you came in.
someone came back. Someone got revived, and I watched that stream, and I was like, oh man, I miss playing D&D so fucking much. And when we started talking about me joining the campaign, we said, oh yeah, well, there's this character Caraxis that is an NPC, but you could take over the NPC, and we'll level you up to what the party's at, stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then I found out that, oh, it's one of Kevin's NPCs. So right off the bat, I'm like, well, if Kevin made the NPC, it's a badass NPC that's got some meat behind him.
Nope.
Well, I not statistical meat,
Yeah.
but like
Flavor.
lore, like yeah, he's flavored well seasoned.
Mhm.
And
He's well
I was
seasoned,
like,
but like you get 20 calories out of it when you eat it.
oh, but it tastes so good. It's so scrumptious.
It does. It does.
So yeah, no, I was very excited to take over an NPC role that Kevin created, and I was also very excited to have kind of a joint um, collaboration in a sense with Kevin, because I think Kevin is hands down one of the best RPers I've ever played with, and just his game sense a literal honor to have at any table
Oh,
I've
it's
had him
fantastic.
on.
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
he's kick ass, and I know we sit here and bloat Kevin's ego all the time,
Literally, yes.
but there's merit for it. He's got a good sense of the game, and I was very happy to run a character with him. The idea of taking over a subordinate NPC was honestly a little difficult because I always had to keep in the back of my mind, like, listen, you can't just go do what you want. You have to keep in mind that you are the subordinate of this character. And I tried to play into that while still kind of leaving some room for uh, what I thought was young kobold antics and some uh, natural proclivities that kobolds may have, like just being curious and essentially being a
A toddler.
kind of bat. Yeah,
Oh
kind
my
of just
gosh,
being a
yes.
toddler. You're kind of fucking some stuff up, usually not too bad, but
He
also
was
like
Pippin of the
sometimes
group.
just yeah. I really enjoyed it. That being said, if Derek killed Caraxus, I would not be sad. I would not be upset. Like I would be upset for the character and the party dynamic, but I would not have been sad about like, oh man, I have to create a character that's created by me. You know, so that was a little difficult, but not upsetting. I really enjoyed Caraxus, and I just wish I had a little more time with him.
Yeah, I hope that then I didn't play Ragnar in that sort of restrictive way. Not raging in that restrictive way for you.
No, no, not at
Yeah.
all. No, and that's why I had trust in playing Caraxus, because like I know Kevin. You know, one of Kevin's goals is not only to have fun at the table, but kind of just feel the vibe of the table and make sure everyone's kind of having a good time. So he's not going to take up the spotlight, and he's not going to be oppressive in the way that he conducts his role play. So I knew that if I was going to be a subordinate NPC turned PC for anyone at the table, Kevin would be the perfect fit for sure.
It's like, and yeah, I was the DM, but Kevin always has a leadership attribute in him that helps
Mhm.
the game so much.
He's easy to just fall behind. I'd like to see Kevin make a character who's a subordinate to someone else.
That'd be funny.
I don't know if he could do it, because he has that leadership role that always comes out. Even when he
Kevin's
doesn't
really
want to be
easy
a-
to follow.
It's like, even when he doesn't really want to be in that leadership character, it just comes out. It's like, yeah, okay, we're following him.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I will
like,
say, when you played Caraxus, Kevin, it was really cute.
like yeah, again, like with raging, I didn't want to be the leader. Like you guys were the established characters. Raging was
Yeah,
there
you
as
weren't an
he-
original character either.
yeah,
Or even player.
effectively he was just the muscle of the group. That's how I brought him in to be. He was just going to be the muscle of the group that I wanted to try out, continue trying out the warlock. I wanted to try out the hexblade, um, and I had lots of fun with the hexblade. You know, it ticked a lot of boxes because not all of a sudden there was lots of problem solving that I was doing. Like I wouldn't say I had a spell for everything, but in so many situations it was like, okay, how are we going to get back into Ravenloft? I have fly. How are we going to get out of Ravenloft? I have invisibility, and it's
Yeah,
like, and it's like, oh shit, how are we going to get to Rahadin and open the portcullis? Well, I can teleport. Um, and then I'm in there and I'm surrounded by vampire spawn, Strahd, and Rahadin, and I'm like, Rahadin's tough enough on his own. Never mind these. Have I got enough health? Have I got enough like armor class? Have I got enough action economy, like to get this done and get out? But then I was like, yeah, but I've still got this one teleport left, so I can just teleport back out when, as long as I get the chance to do it. So I was like, okay, let's see if we can get this open. And then again, even though I was very much a melee based character, which is what I enjoy playing, it was a case of, okay, Rahadin is 10 feet away from the opening where Caraxus is holding his action. So I'll just use my Eldritch Blast, which I don't use all that often, but it's a utility Eldritch Blast. Even if it does 1 damage, doesn't matter. It's going to push him 10 feet into that opening where Caraxus is going to blast him, and the others then can get a go at him. And that sort of turned that fight.
Yeah,
For sure.
that was the only real scary part of that final
terrifying.
fight was right there.
Yeah.
because once you got rid of Rahadin and the fight branched out into the catacombs, there was nothing I could do to. I was frantically trying to navigate him with his legendary actions, trying to get around the sunlight and trying to do other shit. It just wasn't gonna happen because everybody had sunlight Almost everybody had some.
Yeah,
way of
there's a lot of auras going around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you have Orden with the Sun Sword, which casts what 40 feet of
60.
sunlight, 60 feet, and then my bone at least casts 40 feet. So
Mhm.
And then you
you-
had your spirit guardians, and then you had Caraxis, Cone of Colding everywhere else.
I'm just
it
like,
was hard to. It's like I navigated him away from damage, and he regenerated what damage it did to him early.
Mhm.
But I literally couldn't
It
do
was too
anything.
overwhelming.
I couldn't do anything other than throw fireballs
Mm-hmm.
from a long way.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, that wasn't like Raging had his sort of moment in the fight, because after that point where he broke out into the catacombs, Raging was going to struggle to have sort of any effect all of a sudden because all of his spells were used up, and so when the minions come out, Raging was just like, "Fine, Strahd, I'll take care of the minions because at least that I can actually do." I was just going to have to leave everything else to you guys.
just to kind of circle back to the whole Caraxis thing, Nate, I love that you took Caraxis, and like I remember the first few sessions that you played with us, and you could tell you were kind of unsure how to play. You know, you asked some questions, would this be what Caraxis would do? And
Mhm.
like, if you go back and watch all of our VODs, you can slowly see not only you get more comfortable with playing Caraxis, but you can see Caraxis' kind of story arc start to change and he's still like Rajin's the master, but you know, I can be slightly independent. I can kind of go off and do my own thing. You know, I'm still keeping what master wants in mind, what Rajin wants in mind, but you know, I have my own mind at the same time. And I really enjoyed seeing that kind of character arc that go that way.
And that fully came to plan in the Amber Temple, where he was just like, I can get stronger here.
And I like that.
will.
Yeah,
I like that it ended not with him like completely breaking off from Rajin, but them kind of becoming like independent with each other, and the fact that he could become like an equal to Rajin, because so many of those are
And-
like, I'm stronger
yeah.
now. I'm the
Well,
master.
and that's a thing that I wanted to keep in mind for Caraxis, because even if the opportunity arose, I can't see Caraxis trying to break off from Raging,
Mm-hmm.
because one, that's not how the character was created in mind to do, but then also it would seem disingenuous to kind of the dynamic between Raging and Caraxis.
You know what that's called? Stockholm syndrome.
and maybe that's what Caraxis is, to a certain extent. He got some of that, but that's how you gain loyal followers.
Look, he's just in
The
a
Amber
bad
Temple was
office job.
trying. What was that, Ray?
He's in a bad office job, and he's like, yeah, the pay sucks and the hours are bad, but like, where else am I gonna work?
Like, I'm
Well,
comfortable
yeah,
here.
it's like, dude still
literally.
pays my bills in a sense, so
Yeah.
like, it's not that bad.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of that has to do with maybe Caraxis knows of other Dragonborn Kobold relationships, and he goes, honestly, this is pretty good compared to some of the other guys.
Because you're not being
I got-
abused or insulted or
I
mean.
really wasn't. What's it? Raging give me a little backhand one time.
And he make jokes about you, but that's not too bad.
It really isn't, and I enjoyed the dynamic. It was an interesting thing to explore as a player character. The Amber Temple, and then also Amber Temple was trying, because like on one hand, as Caraxis, like I realized I don't like Arcane Trickster at all.
Yeah.
That's it, and I'm sure that it can be useful. I don't think I have the macro game sense to really play an Arcane Trickster. But also, so I feel like I had to kind of catch up a little bit with the party. So, you know, Caraxis may have touched a couple more.
You're not huge into spellcasters yourself.
No, I'm well. That being said, I've mostly been DM in a lot of my games,
Yeah.
and even as DM, I almost never use spellcast. I take like low magic world settings and stuff like that.
And even when we were
It's
in that
just
low
it's a lot of
magic, you
homework.
were still a cleric.
Yeah. But then also when we found an orc or something in the watery dungeon underneath the was it an orc, half orc, something like that.
He was
I don't know.
Koras.
Koras, yeah, Kraxus killed him, and that was a weird time
Bro.
for me because I was like, I don't know, one, if this is something Kraxus would really do, but also it was at a point where I couldn't necessarily ask for guidance because we were like in the moment. But that was a weird situation for me.
That is one of my favorite moments in the campaign, though.
I will say I'm very surprised with how Orden and Caraxus's dynamic went from there, because I thought from that moment that it was going to shift to the admiration of Rajin and maybe like a little pity for Caraxus to just like hating both of them. But like it just worked out really well that they just stayed friends.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you did something bad, but I also did something bad and I threatened your life.
I mean, I honestly, if Orden would have murdered Caraxus,
I would have.
I would have just been like, you know what? Fair enough. Like, do the crime, you do the time.
If it wasn't for the fact that we are in a tabletop roleplay game and you were a person attached to that character, I would have absolutely done that. And then Kevin's over here like, you won't do it. And I'm like, damn it, you're right, I won't.
Kevin calling the bluff. Yeah, and that was still early on for Caraxus. So that was probably the moment where I was like kind of pushing the boundaries of how far can Caraxus really push before it's like, all right, that's too far. That was probably that was the one of the key moments where Caraxus was like, oh, I don't know.
The answer to that question is murder, apparently.
It wasn't murder, it was assisted suicide.
I was just gonna say that. It's assisted suicide, really. That dude wants he is begging for it.
So I think one thing that maybe helped in that situation was the fact of, because introducing a new party character to the group is not very easy. I mean, obviously we had Iris related to Ragnar, so that actually was probably a little bit smoother. But again, finding a way to introduce Raging and Soul was it's difficult doing it. It doesn't matter who it is playing the character, it's just always difficult. And I guess what really actually helped there was actually Caraxus has already been with the group for a while. It's already been introduced. And so it probably actually helped. And then you already have we'd already worked on some sort of dynamic between the two of us, because we'd bounce some things backwards and forwards to get an early feel. And so our sort of relationship bond in game was already there. So then it was just Caraxus slowly interacting and building them bonds and the relationships with the other characters, which I think you were able to do quite naturally between everyone.
It's like, that's why kind of like for me, like when Kai was starting to come back to the party for a short time again, I really tried in the Discord tried pushing him to be Koras, and you could somehow find a way and rescue him from the castle. But he's just like, no, I don't want to play the character anymore. It was really hard to try to figure a way to get him into a new character even.
Yeah.
And then later he was like, actually, can I play Koras again? And you're like, no, he's dead.
Oops.
I don't know. If we didn't have Oodles, we wouldn't have the goose. So
we had the goose before Oodles. Oodles just became the goose.
Well, that's true, but there wasn't a big spotlight on the goose as there was until Oodles showed up. So
that's true.
We kind of have Kai to thank for that.
Thank you, Kai. I hope you're okay out at sea.
Yeah, that whole goose situation, I was like, all right, are we still talking about this fucking goose? I'm sick of this shit.
At some point, you just embraced it.
Reluctantly.
No,
There's
you
still
did
something in
not.
my there's still something in my soul that's like, I'm happy this goose joke is dead. And then I find
It's never
that
dead. It is immortalized in
never
an
dead.
emote, Nate. It is never
That's
dead. I'm
exactly
getting
it.
a T-shirt with it on there. It's gonna be forever.
Dude,
Fuck
not only
this
that, I
goose.
literally sent you a thing saying, "Hey, what's Caraxus's backstory?" And you're like, Goose. He was married to
Yeah, I
a
was
goose."
like, oh, haha, goose. Because I had nothing else for a fucking backstory. I'm like, you should ask Ray Jin for a backstory. I don't give a fuck about this guy's backstory. Because
And
he
with
was
all
an egg, and now he's Ray Jin's kobold. Like, that's his backstory.
You could have written that. Literally, okay, look at Discord right now and look what
What?
Tyler sent me.
Oh, jeez.
Look at what Tyler sent me for Nathan Naughton.
Where?
Oh, it's not for. I sent it directly to Nathan.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
On
this
that
thing
note,
here.
on that note, Ray, thank you like so much for all the art that you did and
Oh,
the
kick-ass art.
the chat
so
box
good.
and the character art and all. Like this stream would not look nearly as good as it does without Ray's art. Like I mean I did the
Yeah.
overlay and stuff like that, but like I just pulled a picture up and cut some squares in it so we can put our faces on it and put some text up. But Ray spent time and effort in making our characters and making some character cards and making our chat box and the emotes. It's been great.
Like,
Meanwhile,
all
yes.
like all of the all of the tokens were even from her art, so that it
Yeah.
was huge.
No, Ray did a kick-ass job for sure.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, like the three of you together, as in like Nathan, Derek, and Ray, like you're the core of everything. We're just the players in it, but like you
No
just
way.
said, Ray's done so much, and Derek obviously ran the game.
And Nathan was the streaming aspect side of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I need to thank all of y'all too for finally deciding to stream it, because it's something I wanted to do kind of when we started, but like nobody was really into streaming and wanted to do it. So
Like,
I mean,
think, like, we were all okay with it. It was just a except for one person. He we guaranteed he didn't want to do it at all.
Oh yeah, no, I think he said at the beginning, like, if we do it, I'm not doing cameras.
And he never did.
we did I can't remember if we started streaming on 11 or if we did 11 episodes before we started streaming. Either way, we started. I think so. But either way, we started, like, we were into it for a while before we started. And then finally, I had a charity stream coming up, and I streamed The Fall of Raven's Roost. And everyone was like, you need to practice. So I played a video game here or there. And then you guys were like, why don't we just stream Curse of Strahd? And I was like, man, I would absolutely love to. Like, I want to do D&D on my channel. So, and I'm so glad we eventually decided to do cams, because we had some really good episodes with just our voices. But when I go back and watch those clips where it's just our voices, I'm like, man, I wish we had cams for these episodes. We had so many good moments, and I would just like, there's something different about watching the clips of this stuff where we can see all of our reactions and all of our faces and all of our laughter. That's just, I mean, those other clips are still good, but there's just a little bit missing in those.
Yeah. No, I'm happy you started streaming, man. That's something we've talked about a few times, and I'm happy. Y'all just needed someone to pull the trigger.
Literally, yeah.
And I have enjoyed it too. It added enjoyment to the game that wasn't there before. It was still fun just playing the game and stuff.
Derek's gonna start streaming now.
Derek,
I'm not streaming on a laptop.
That's true. You can join us when everyone else except Kevin is streaming.
Should I hold my laptop up right now as we stream off my laptop?
I'm about halfway to my goal, money wise, to getting a laptop to stream. So a few more months, and I'll be right there with you, Nate.
We had a lot of ups and downs, both player wise, character wise, and tech issue wise, schedule wise, and but
That's just the nature of D&D.
I'm glad we finally I'm sad that it's over, but I'm also so glad that we finally finished a campaign, because like I know Ray hasn't been here for everything before, but like Kevin introduced me to you guys. God, I don't even know how many years ago. It's been several years now.
Yeah, it's been a few
And-
years.
ever since.
Yeah. Well, I remember when Kevin introduced me to these guys, he was like, I'd played with Kevin a few times. I think I had played in a couple of Kevin's games too. And Kevin came to me and he was finally like, hey, I have this group I want to introduce you to, but
We needed another player.
I needed to know that you could handle them first, because they're a little rough around the edges, they're a little crazy. I think you can handle them, and it's been downhill ever since.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I know I'm not the strongest DM ever. I've asked Kevin for guidance constantly on like what he would do, because there's just those things
For
that
sure.
are like what should happen.
Mhm.
But this is by far obviously the best game I have run and the strongest game I have run. I can recognize that this is far better than the first 2 attempts that
Well,
I had.
there,
I'm
for
glad
sure,
you-
Sense of charm.
the
Go ahead, Nate.
The game, yeah, sorry. The game that I played where you run, was it Horde of the Dragon Queen? That was like your first time actually running a game, if I
It
believe.
was. It was.
And like that game there compared
And
to
even then, I was still
jumping
new to
into them. Oh, yeah, you were still new to D&D, not just DMing, like D&D. So seeing that and seeing what that tail end of Curse of Strahd was, I'm like, dude, like Derek, you
in
got
Horde
it.
of the
Like,
Dragon Queen, if it
Mhm.
didn't happen in the book, it just wasn't gonna happen.
you can tell it's kind of like watching like a fighter, you know, like their first couple rounds, you're just kind of feeling stuff out. You do everything textbook, like, all right, I do this because he does this, and then as the fight continues, you're looser, you're moving around, you're making some questionable decisions just to see if it works. I mean, it was really cool to see game 1 to game what do you want, 3 that you run? This your 3rd
even
game or
in
4th game?
I still pretty much ran it by the book, but we added flavor to it, whether a character died,
Mhm.
bringing back,
Yeah,
family
you took
ties,
some you took some ownership of it. It was
So
awesome to see
there are
that.
some differences that swayed from the book, but it was still most part for the book.
But again, that's just how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yes,
you-
absolutely.
You know, that is just how you learn.
And you
And that's
can
how
argue
you.
the best parts of this game were not from the book. either.
Exactly
Yeah,
what I
that-
was fixing to say.
Yeah,
Wait,
the part with the bridge, that was great.
Caraxes killing Koras, that obviously not from the book. Iris coming
Yeah.
into the game, not from the book. Just
No,
I
I like that a lot. It was a good experience to see that.
I love that you took Erston and the player leaving and kept Erston in basically in the entire game. But it wasn't
Yes,
just
such a
like
good move.
it kept coming up and coming up and coming up, but it wasn't like this campaign became about the Oakenbeards. But it
Mhm.
was it
Yeah.
fit as like a definite line of the story that needed to be there. Because I mean, you could have just had him disappear like everybody else, but it felt
Yeah.
like it needed to stay.
Yeah,
the biggest
it was
things that
good.
I did from the book is the destruction of Kresk.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't actually part of the book. I'm like, he knew you were there. He saw you with Irina there. He's gonna destroy that place trying to find her.
And
Mhm.
that episode messed us up too. When
Yeah,
you
that was-
destroyed that town, it was jeez.
I destroyed Vallaki, which one of my players hated everyone from Vallaki.
So he was okay with it.
Yeah, from the moment he turned up and the gates were closed because it was nighttime, and they wouldn't let him in. he hated everyone from Vlacky from that
Well,
point on.
how dare they not let him in? They're just
Yeah,
a police
yeah.
state.
Yeah, he hated it. He hated everyone from Vlacky and was fine with it burning. Yeah, but no, I thought you did really well, Derek. And always remember, it doesn't matter what what the
outcome
rule.
is.
It doesn't matter what the rules are, and right. And no player has the right to argue the rule for you to change it. It's your game, and you call the rule how you call the rule. It doesn't matter. So if ever it's like, oh well, you can't climb a tree with acrobatics, and you say, yeah, well, I think you can, then
Hmm. Yeah.
enough said. That's it. It's done. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Doesn't matter what the rules say. Right. This is your
Mhm.
game. The rules are there as a guide, as a foundation, as a sort of framework, but how the game looks is all down to you, and that's what's important.
And it even says that in the DMG, like the rules, yeah, they're rules, but you have agency to modify things how you need or how you want.
Like with the crit system, you could
Oh, yeah.
theoretically just roll 2 ones.
It's so
I mean,
cool.
that's not
Yeah.
a crit.
Oh, it's so disappointing.
That's not a crit.
I think
Like, there-
I think a good DM. I don't think there's anything wrong with confidence, but I like, Derek, the fact that you aren't afraid to ask questions. Like,
Mhm.
I think a good DM can have that confidence and be sure with what they want to do. But I don't think a DM, especially a new DM, should be afraid to ask questions, especially if they have a more experienced person in the group. And I
Mhm.
think where a lot of DMs that I've watched that I have a problem with, I think that's something that they run into. It's fully my way and nothing else, and I do it the right way, and nobody can change my mind. Nobody can do something that's different than what I think. And I like the fact that you'll ask questions, but you'll also sometimes let us try to reason out what we're trying to do and let us twist
Mhm.
what, like, not twist the rules necessarily, but like flavor what we're trying to do to accomplish something.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's-
Derek did a
I mean,
good job with that.
At the end of the day, it's your game.
Oh, it's our game.
It's like I'm
you
just
know?
the one. The DM is just the one supposed to guide you through it.
Facilitate. Yeah.
Like the
Facilitate
narrator
through-
almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that another thing with that is this group I feel is easy for a new DM to play with as well.
Are we?
Because I think
don't know.
so.
I don't know
Because
about that.
I think
no,
you're lying.
here's why. Because you see some games, especially if you're playing with randoms, and I'm not trying to shit on pickup games or anything like that, but sometimes when you play with randoms, your players won't, for lack of a better term, respect the DM's decision. They'll want to argue so hard on a rule decision that it just slows down the whole game. And I think this group in particular, we all get along. We're all genuinely friends. So if we see a call that maybe we don't even agree with to a certain extent, we still understand, well, there's no sense arguing with this because one, it's going to slow down the game. It's bad for viewership or whatever it is, even if we weren't streaming. The fact of we're going to say, okay, Derek, what is your decision on this? And then whatever it is, whether we disagree with it or not. We might push back on a couple things, but we're only going to push back one, two
we'll
times. If
debate
you're
this
hard,
part.
then we're done.
You say that after we had that entire debate about what Strahd's charm means.
I was gonna say two.
I mean, that was more of a semantic thing, though.
I was gonna say two things on what Nate said. One, Derek, we'll let Derek make the call, but we're definitely gonna give him shit about it. Two,
Well, yeah. We're still
Nate
gonna give shit about
wasn't here for the beginning of the campaign where we went through
I
everything that he just said we didn't go, that we don't do.
At least so then that just shows Derek has grown so much from episode 1 to episode 50.
No,
And
we got a better cast.
Also,
not that Derek didn't grow, but we definitely got a better cast.
Can I just say I'm the only random that survived this long?
Yes.
You're not wrong.
Well, that the one player that we were all happy that left. God, he was such a pain in the ass to try to run a game with. Oh, I hide here. Okay, good. You hide there. You fire. You get your advantage, and you fire from the shadows once. Okay, you want to hide there again. Okay, sure. But then 3, 4, 5. Why can't I hide here again? How the hell do they know where this arrow's coming from? It's like, goddamn.
It wasn't just that though. I felt like we started. I felt like we started out really well, and then I felt like even if it was second session, I felt like just a couple sessions in, he almost decided he didn't want to play anymore, but he felt like he wanted to keep showing up, if that makes sense.
Oh,
and
100%.
And maybe it just wasn't the game for him. Maybe this isn't what he expected, and this isn't the kind of game he runs. I don't know. It's not a call I'm gonna make. I'm just you're gonna have, especially like kind of what Nate said, playing with random people. Every so often, you're gonna have somebody that doesn't really mesh with the group, and it just happened to be that.
Like he didn't want to be here anymore, but he was afraid to be like, "Hey, I don't want to be here anymore." It's like
one of the things with playing with people who play in other groups as well is that they can always be comparing. Oh well, at my table we don't do it that way, or this GM he does it this way, and all that, and that can be a little bit difficult going into, especially then for a newer, inexperienced GM to have to handle.
It can be overwhelming for sure,
and especially if that player themselves actually doesn't always understand the rules itself. How many times will you? And I'm not talking about the player that we had with ourselves, but one thing I see a lot with people who play rogues, for instance, they go, oh, okay, I've got a 20 stealth, okay, but there's nowhere to hide, so it doesn't matter how much you roll, it doesn't matter. Or I've got a 24 on persuasion. It's like, but you're not. That doesn't matter because it's not going to change the guy's mind. It might make the guy more favorable towards you.
Or worse, I rolled a 20 perception. Okay, what do you say? I don't know. I rolled a 20 perception, but so I guess pass. That's even worse.
Yeah, and it's you get a lot of, when you get players that are like that. Really, no one should roll until the GM says, and that's how it should be.
It's like you can ask, "Can I roll a persuasion check?"
Oh, yeah. Or you say, "I'm trying to persuade this player," and then you say what you're trying to do to persuade.
He's like, you have to, like for me, it's like, "Oh, I persuade him." Okay, what do you say? You still have to flavor it in a way.
That's one of my biggest kind of pet peeves with DMing is when people are just like, "Oh, I rolled to do this," and it's like there's some situations where it's like, "Man, I wouldn't even have had you roll to do that." But then also it's like, what makes you think that that's going to be necessary at this moment? Like, if you tell me what you want to do, and then we can work around what actually the process would be to achieve that. And I think this group does really good with working with the DM instead of seeing it as combative in that sense.
See, I understand a player or character rolling for something and saying what they're rolling for if it's a situation where you understand that person either would not know what to say in the situation, may not be, maybe they're a new RPer and they don't know what to RP. There's a difference in that and someone who's just like, I don't really feel like RPing because I'm just being lazy, so I'm just gonna roll for this. Like, exactly like you guys said, if you're trying to persuade somebody and I know you can do it and I know there's no reason at this moment why you can't, give me something I can work with.
I mean, you can even just have it where you explain your bullet points. Okay, I speak to them about this. I
Yeah,
speak
yeah,
to them about this. You know, this is what I say. I want to try and do this, and then you can fill in the blanks in your mind how the conversation goes, and then your role determines how it is. But then at the same time, you could have it where the role play is so good that what the person is saying, it doesn't actually need a role.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and Jarl just said something good in the chat here about his rules on rolling. That when you're rolling, there's a chance of success and failure. So if the
Hmm.
situation doesn't necessarily entail a hard success or a hard failure, then the role's kind of ambiguous in a sense. I think that's a real good point by Jarl there.
It is because you have to think of it like in the persuasion sense. Like if somebody is if a NPC is dead set in their mind that I am doing this. Nothing's in hell is ever going to change my mind. How do you think you're going to ever persuade this person?
Well, here's a good example. Caraxus will never finger of death Raging. That's just
Yes,
not
that's
going to
true.
happen. You can roll as hard as you want. That's just not. It's not a thing that's going to happen
Hmm.
We can't
unless you have full control over Raging or
just
full control over Caraxus.
Like that's why it's like in my head, I'm like, okay, you said you would have used it. But I'm like, in reality, Caraxus never would have done that duration. If I would have said it,
No.
figured that somebody else, possibly it would have gone down
Ragnar?
differently.
Yeah, sure. Iris? Yeah, sure.
all right.
Orden?
Cool.
Probably.
Just because I stabbed you with a spear twice doesn't mean that you have to finger of death me.
Twice.
So many times. So many times.
I'm pretty sure Iris only stabbed you twice, and Ragnar hit Rajin once at least.
And also Ragnar disrobed me
Yeah,
in an
that-
unprofessional work setting.
That was
Yes.
fully Carax's fault, okay? Fully Carax's fault.
I don't know
That's
if the
one of
court's going to see it
that's
that
one
way.
of the best movements too, is when that
Listen.
disrobing.
Listen, and you never even made an honest kobold of him.
Speaking
Right.
of that moment, which is also another one of my favorites, do you guys have any moments that really stand out as favorites, both jokingly serious, out of character moments where we made jokes, and in character moments?
It's like, and it doesn't have to pertain to you or your character either. It could be just a moment in the entire campaign.
The part where you were like, how much HP did Ragnar have when he died, and the fact that Derek was like so quick on the uptake, that was comedy gold. I love that moment so much.
0.
I
Yeah.
love that Ray was like right on as soon as I got the words out, Ray was instant, like, I would imagine 0. And then Derek was like already finger on the mute button, just waiting for Ray to finish the sentence.
Yep. That was timed so well. That was great.
My other absolute favorite moment, and God, I wish we had cams for this moment, was when we met the Corpse Bride and we did the Monsters Inc. thing, and there was no plan to do this, and I was like, put that thing back where it came from, and Ray pops in with dun 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 dun, and everyone fucking lost it. Tyler was spitting Mountain Dew all over the place, and I'm like, God, I wish we had cams that night.
Yeah, that's great.
We were all just so stressed from the fact that Kresk was burning and we didn't know if Ragnar could even come back, and then we're just being goofy little guys.
So wait, we didn't start streaming until after Ragnar was.
No, we were streaming. We didn't do cams.
I meant cams. Yeah, we didn't do
Yeah.
cams until.
No, the first time we did
Mm-mm.
cams
late.
was when we did the Lord of the Rings game.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah, and after
I
the Lord,
forget that it was- I
after
forget that it
Kevin
was
finally
Rocky.
got everyone to do cams, everyone was like, we could just do this every time, right?
That was also the first game without you know who, so that kind of makes sense.
Very true.
My biggest hesitation with cams is I live in Florida. In my house, I don't wear a shirt. I literally don't wear a shirt in my house. And I'm like, God, it's hot as shit wearing a shirt in Florida.
Thank you for making a sacrifice.
Yeah, life's so hard for Derek in Florida.
Well, it is.
All right, I'm making a note that the next time I get paid out as a DM gift, I'm buying Derek a fan for his desk. All right, cool.
I
That'll
literally
solve
have
the
to
shirt
say-
problem.
Only fans.
Right. I can't stay too much longer because
So what
I
is
have
what
some
is
work. tomorrow.
What? Okay. What is one of you? Your if not your. What are some of your favorite moments, Kevin, of the campaign?
My memory's terrible like this. Um,
And also describe like the other the possible other ending that you.
Oh yeah,
thought
yeah,
of.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That.
yeah. So I think there was just lots of moments with Caraxes. I thought Nathan played Caraxes so well and his interactions with everyone that those were a lot of my favorite moments. Um, the alternate ending, um, it's got to been like 2 months ago now, right? Or
Yeah, oh
maybe
yeah.
three
It's been a
three
while. It's
months
been a
ago.
while.
Quite a while
Because
ago.
you only mentioned it at the end of a stream once Ray had said she needed to go, and we were
Yeah.
just chatting
Um,
back and forth.
I
Mhm.
can't remember whereabouts we was or where, and I think I was probably still thinking about raging as a character and like his motivations and whatnot, um, and coming up with the concept of like what he's doing. And Ray got off early, and I was just like, I think it was me, Derek, and Nathan, and I said, I don't want to do it because I don't like killing other people's characters off. But once we've like defeated Strahd, I think one thing that Raging might actually do was he might kill Odin, right? And his my thinking was that he at that time he was pushing and pushing Odin to get more in touch with his draconic side um and grow in power and be more forceful. And he could see the warrior in Odin. Um, and he's thinking, if Odin the paladin becomes powerful enough to defeat Strahd, and Odin most likely is going to be the key factor in that fight. With if we can get Odin to Strahd, then we win. That's what you know. That's what paladins do to undead creatures. We just need to do that. So he was thinking, if we can just do that, if we can just get Odin there, but Odin's going to be powerful, a level 10, 11, whatever at that time. That's the sort of person like Raging wants to take on, fight, and kill, and sort of drain their essence, spirit, power from them. Plus, it was Red Dragon born that betrayed his master as well. Um, so it's like there's enough reason there for that to happen. Would I want to do it? No, because I wouldn't want to kill Odin's character. I wouldn't want to do that to another player, right? Is it something that potentially Raging would do? He's not evil, but he's neutral. So, even
For
though
the
that's an
cause.
evil thing to do, yeah. So it was something that I discussed with you guys, and Ray found out about it yesterday. I guess.
I found out about it completely at random. I was like, wait, you were gonna do what?
What was your thoughts on that when I told you that?
Honestly, like the way you described that, that sounds rad. And like it almost kind of fits because it almost felt like what Rajin was trying to do with Orden was to almost corrupt him in a way, because that was part of his thing. Do I become more of a dragonborn and do these questionable things, or do I stay with my heritage, be a kind person, but not be a dragonborn at heart? So that would work out really well with that.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe audience saw it as a corruption towards maybe something evil.
Mm-hmm.
Raging certainly wouldn't have seen it that way. It was just more so the pride of drag. And at that
Mm-hmm.
time in the campaign as well, there was that sort of backwards and forwards, because early on it was a case of, oh, he's another dragon born. Oh wow. And Odin had that sort of stars in his eyes
Mm-hmm.
moments. And and then we went through that early phase, and then it went into that other phase where it was like Raging was trying to get Ordin to be more like a dragon,
Mhm.
because in his mind, you were a letdown to dragons. So I think you were too soft.
100% yes.
Yeah, you were too soft, and we even had this discussion, I think, in character,
Mhm.
where it was like, yeah, you're too soft, and you're making dragons look weak, and I can't have that because that means my master is weak, and I can't have my master looking weak, and it's all that sort of thought process that was going through my mind in his mind, um, and he got I think he got to a point where he gave up on you.
Mhm.
And at that point, it was like, okay, this person's going to be strong, but you know, like just too soft.
Mhm.
Um,
I
go on.
think the turning point was definitely around the time Koras died because that was when he started pulling away from the dragon in him.
Mm.
I don't know where it was for Rajin.
Yeah, no, I think it was probably before then, and then that's why I think when Caraxes killed Koras, sorry, euthanized Koras, um, and Raging was like, whatever, dude, if you're gonna kill him, sort of thing. And he didn't care because again, Caraxes was expendable, but you know maybe that he would then see that draconic side come out of you, um, and so it was like, all right, do it. Um, you know, there's no, unfortunately, there is no emotional attachment for, like, I don't think I don't think Raging felt any emotional attachments to any of the party members that he travelled with. It was just a means to an end. It was just your, yeah, you're going to help me do what I need to do, and that's it.
You all had the same goal,
Yeah,
so
Mhm.
might as well go with you.
Temporarily, yeah.
The enemy of my the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mhm.
yeah, that's, and I think that I lent on like my idea of his upbringing for that sort of approach as well, where it was very much a case of we don't we the Dragonborn where he's from, or the perceived Dragonborn culture that I'd created for him, it doesn't show anything like it. Very drow like.
Mhm.
That's what I was thinking. You know, it was probably a case of, I think I just finished reading um, the Drist trilogy, the prequel trilogy, um, and I enjoyed the Drow society sort of and its workings, and I was like, matriarchal, this would be cool. But then because Dragonborn have this like dual personality in regards to, you have the metallics and you have the chromatics. What if the metallic side of the Dragonborn um, races, um, they are uh, they have a
Patriarch.
patriarchy. Yeah, they have a patriarchy, and it's led by a single patriarch, very traditional sort of thing. Um, and they are welcoming of outsiders and strangers, um, but are still very prideful. Like, we are the top race. And then you have the chromatic side, and you have Tiamat as a five-headed dragon, and they're run by a council of matriarchs, and the most powerful matriarch of each chromatic color in their society forms the council. So, like, the strongest matriarch of the greens and the blacks and the reds and the whites and the blue, and like I just had this idea of how the Dragonborn society looked and worked, and I was just like, I like an idea, and I just basically plucked Raging out of this
Hmm.
and implemented it into sort of the Sword Coast, how the Sword Coast sort of works. Um, and so I think that just fed into, okay, they probably don't have a lot of love in that society. So building these familial bonds and relationships maybe aren't something that happens very often unless you do what Auden has done and you leave.
Well,
Or
he
was
didn't
never
leave.
in.
Yeah, he was never in. He was
Yeah.
raised by a halfling.
Yeah, I know. But you've got to have got there somehow, right?
The way that I always wrote it is that his mother just found him in a cart that had been destroyed, and she always made it sound like, oh, it was this great purpose that I found you, but then he was like, but what really happened is that it was just someone who stole a dragonborn egg and was going to peddle it off as a dragon egg, and it just
Yeah.
happened to be crashed. So it was really just circumstances just happened to be there, but he thinks, oh, I'm this great, powerful person. I got found by my mother because the gods or whatever.
I like that.
Yeah, but but you've got there. You wasn't in it. You know, you've got away from it. So you were brought up in an environment. Again, it's the nature versus nurture thing.
Literally, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, like while I was playing Raging, that was my whole sort of mindset. That sort of nurture of the Dragonborn, and that's where a lot of his personality came from. That devotion to higher, more powerful creatures.
And the fact that it was like a red dragonborn that was like the one that was all peace and love, and it was the the bronze dragonborn that was like, no, you need to be like this. Like that's totally different.
Yeah, and it was more so to just do with pride. Just you know, you're supposed to be. We are supposed to be the most powerful race. You know, that's how we see ourselves. Right? Start acting like it because you're making all of us look bad. You know, that was his literal mindset at it, and he couldn't have that in his mind because that's how he's been brought up. That's how he's sort of been nurtured.
And I think Nathan wants to mention something while we're all here because Tyler actually came back for a little bit. So
yeah, I know Kevin's got to go pretty soon, and I need to go get ready for Euros game pretty soon. But I have both kind of an epilogue to add to the end of last night, and also the potential for a pitch. I may have discovered the campaign that I want to run, or mini campaign that I want to run. If you guys are okay with it at some point. Now I know our next thing is Middle Earth, and I'm cool with that because I would definitely need some time to prepare this idea.
Well, backdoor pilot it. Go ahead.
Let me do that first because that's going to kind of lead into the epilogue. So I run some of our moments by a guy at work that I work with. He knows a little bit about D&D. He's played a few times, and I run some of the things we do by him and the cool stuff that happens in the game, the funny stuff. And I was telling him about how the game ended last night. And, you know, I told him about Iris seizing power of Barovia, well, basically being given power of Barovia for the moment. Explained all that. And his first response was, why don't you guys play again and have the party face Iris as the big bad? Because he said the same thing that I was thinking, is that right now it's peaceful, but that Iris's hunger for power is eventually going to keep building and building if she's not getting power. She may be fine sitting in peace right now, but eventually she's going to venture back to the Amber Temple and procure some of that power. She's going to search Strahd's castle and see if there's any power that she can obtain from there.
And there would most definitely be circumstances that occur on the rise where she might end up having to kill an innocent civilian just because they're in her way.
You know what?
Those situations would come up inevitably.
We're getting there, Derek. We're getting there, Derek.
What kind of powers would she find, Nathan?
I don't know. I'd have to read the book, but yeah.
I've got the book, man.
I'd have to read the book.
I sent you one of them.
Yeah, no, she would probably end up seeking some type of vampiric power like Strahd had, seeing the power that he did have and trying to improve on that eventually.
Mhm.
I don't
Tyler's screen froze really well, by the way.
he's contemplating whether he wants to play with us again. I don't necessarily know that it would be the same characters if we did do this later on down the road. I'm thinking more of a, I guess we could have some of the same characters, but I was thinking more of do like a prologue that kind of wraps all of, the characters up a few years down the road to set this up before a campaign starts of Iris. And I wouldn't want it to be just Curse of Strahd again, where Iris is in Barovia, a party comes to Barovia to face her. Like, I'm thinking that she's extending her hand out farther,
Yeah.
trying to take
what I was
more
thinking.
power from more places. And again, that would take me a while to set up, but
Like an empire expanding, basically.
Mhm.
yes.
What
You
about
need to read some of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. It's got a lot of this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
my favorite D&D book. I need to dig into it so much.
Or I was thinking maybe Descent into Avernus. Tyler knows a little bit about that one.
Yeah, that's a game I've been trying to run for almost 2.5 freaking years now, but it always falls apart every single time. I have everything I need, and I've studied the book to a point where it's like I know the first 6 chapters, random encounters, even all the way up to the D20 by hand by now, because I've just been reading into the book constantly. It's a very complicated, it's a difficult campaign, and the campaign, once you get to a certain level, you can actually make deals with demons and stuff like that play on these things called soul tokens you get, where you're selling your souls to devils to get like powerful items. Like, it's a very interesting storyline that I've read into a lot, and I've actually I dove into it in the free time I have working overnights. As you saw, I was kicking my feet up earlier. That's definitely a big one that I'd like to complete, because I had a home group here in Georgia that I played with on Saturdays, because we played in the morning at like 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, and they actually party wiped twice in 2 separate encounters, and then the group just one person ended up moving out of state, and then the other group was a couple and they broke up, so then they didn't want to play anymore. So I've never actually gotten past chapter 4 in the campaign, and there's 9 of them, or 8. So the campaign goes all the way up to, I think, level 12, or possibly higher. I think it's 12.
So I think if that's something that, I mean, obviously we can talk about it and stuff like that, but I think that if that's something we decide to do down the road, now, if obviously Derek started running this campaign, if he wanted to run that, I would absolutely allow him to. I'm just thinking that, for one, I'm thinking give Derek a break, past just the Middle Earth.
If I ran it, I'd have to be running it as Iris. Nobody is going to know Iris better than the person who actually was the character.
Well, that was
it just wouldn't feel
right.
Even for you guys, it wouldn't feel right.
That was the other thing I was about to say, is that though I would give that opportunity over to you if you wanted it, because like you started running this one, I figured that would kind of be the thing, is that, I played Iris, so I would be in that mindset. But that's something I would really like you guys to consider, that if we do continue on, we can continue on, maybe after the Middle Earth or something like that we can look into something along those lines, because
So
we're going to need other things to run. So
yeah, so I mean,
I'm interested.
I would
Let's at least wait till my schedule changes. Otherwise, I'm unavailable every single time all of you guys are, because of the bull crap this job has put me through. But I'm going to be leaving this job within the next 3 weeks.
You need to play Soul again.
If you want me to, I would love to, because I genuinely enjoyed playing that character. I mean, I played another like teenage just temper tantrum brat before, and I liked the idea. So I'm all for it in the future. But for for us versing Iris, that is a badass idea. And I think you can get hella creative with it because you can completely change all of Barovia, but at the same time still make it just as daunting to be around since it's like a new overlord.
I'm
So I-
already considering. So none of us, I mean, like in all of our futures, we've been outside of Barovia now. And obviously we've lived outside of Barovia. But none of us know, like, where is Barovia in the world right now? Like, I'm already thinking of transplanting Barovia into my homebrew world if we're going to do this. And using some of my homebrew information that I already have going and tying some of that into what's happening and what's going to happen. I have a... Go ahead.
Right. Can we do a Barovian Caldera?
I don't know if
Whoa.
dude, I don't know if I'm good enough to do that tone. If Jeremy wants to do that, absolutely. I don't know if I'm good enough to hold a tone like that yet. I've only run, I think, 3 games now, so taking on this campaign in and of itself is going to be a big leap for me. So it's something that like I haven't fully thought out because it just came like my coworker gave me the idea, you know, at noon today, and it's, you know, it's been stewing in my head since then, but it's something I would definitely like you all to consider, and maybe we can pick that up down the road a little bit.
That'd be awesome.
Right. Okay. So I have got to pretty much go now, but again, I would say we can always do Adventures in Middle Earth alternate weeks.
That'd be fun.
That, you know, that's fine with me. How long would you want it? How long would you want it to run for? Adventures in Middle Earth. You know, I can drag it out, or I can try and keep it, you know, maybe the length of a module in regards to like a Horde of the Dragon Queen, that sort of length. You know, you know, it's entirely up to yourselves, or I can try and make it even shorter than that if possible, if you want to.
It would need to be shorter.
Yeah.
Because, well, for me personally, it's like I love Middle Earth so much. I could play an infinitely long game in Middle Earth, but it could probably be about a module's length, maybe a little longer. If we really love it, we can go further, and we can go past the ring. If you
well, how I've set up my Thursday game is it's split into 3 parts. It's going to be level 2 and 3, and that's sort of one adventure, right? Then they have a break, go back, a year maybe passes by, and then they have to go on an adventure again, which will be levels 5, 6, and 7. Then they come back for they have a break, maybe 6 months, you know, return home, do what they do at home for a bit, and then they get drawn to adventure once more, right? For levels 9, 10, 11, finish with 12. So again, it's that trilogy setup, and that's sort of how I would be looking. So I like that structure, how I've got it set up. So that's sort of how I'm going to be looking to do it with you guys as well.
Like that.
So I know Kevin has to leave and I gotta go. We can definitely talk about the Middle Earth campaign in the chat. We can definitely talk about the Return of Iris in the chat. Do you guys have anything else that you want to say before we end up? I do have one more thing, but I would like it to be our last little tidbit before the sign off?
I will just say thank you again, Derek, for running.
Thank you for being here. Like like having you in a game makes the game just perfect in my opinion.
You have all got to stop bigging me up so much. It's,
No.
beginning-
We love our
beginning
Uncle
to freak me out,
Kevin.
man.
Look, any 99.99% of the people that I talk to in the AbTab group, if I say the name Kevin, they're like, yeah, that guy, I know him. He's a great player. We love having him in our games. It's like, it's just, everybody knows who you're talking about if you say Kevin.
Like, and you can tell, like, even for our games, the games you have missed have, I don't want to say they've been worse, but they haven't been quite as good.
They haven't been
without
punchy
Kevin.
enough. I mean, I died in a game Kevin wasn't in.
No, I died.
Yeah,
I just died.
having Kevin there is invaluable. You know, even if it like not just in the RP sense, but just in like the learning things from Kevin as far as a player, especially Derek DMing and having Kevin there as a resource to kind of pull from every once in a while. That's huge. That's more than you'll get from any book you'll read. You know.
Well, I appreciate it, and I really enjoy. I've enjoyed all the games so far. So, and I'm looking forward to the next steps for us.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Middle Earth.
And Tyler getting a new job.
Yes. Tyler, are you going to get to play Middle Earth with us?
Am I a robot?
Nope.
No.
Well, like I said, I'm leaving this job in the next 3 weeks or so I'll have night availability again.
Yay!
So yeah, I could join that, and then when Nathan gets his Iris alternative set up, I'm good for that. And then if you guys want me to try to DM that Descent into Avernus afterwards, I'd like to do that. I can
That's
do
like
that.
3 years down the road.
That would be cool.
Making plans.
I might even have gray hair by then.
I can see it, bro.
That's
You already have great hair,
I mean,
don't you?
you never know if at least 3 of us, maybe 4 of us become famous streamers, we might all just hire you guys as D&D players, and then we can just play D&D every night as our jobs.
That would be so good.
First one to make it big has to do it now.
Look, if I make it big first, and you guys all have to give VTubers, I'm decreeing that.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I gotta sign off.
No. You can do it.
How do I unsubscribe from Ray?
Oh lordy, that requires me to have that kind of social media. I don't want Twitch.
You don't even have to do it for anything else besides just us streaming, but you have to have one.
Oh good lordy. I have to roll the dice on that one. Leave it to fate.
All right, guys. I gotta wrap up unless y'all have anything else to say. I got a couple things I need to say before we head out.
Yep, I'm good.
All right, we were raided by Table Knights, and I didn't want to interrupt the great Uncle Kevin, so I kind of waited. Thank you, Table Knights, for the raid. You did get your shout out in the chat. Welcome, raiders, if you're still out there. We really appreciate you stopping by. We've spent the night discussing our Curse of Strahd campaign that we finished last night. We've gotten at least 1 follow from Puputron. I watched them on Jarl's channel last night playing the new Ghostbusters game. I wish I could have played that so bad. It was so freaking hilarious, dude. It was fantastic. A lot of fun.
Instead, so that was better.
Yeah. Well, I definitely probably wouldn't have traded one for the other. It's probably. But yeah. That's it for me. Well, basically, thank you all for coming. Thank you for hanging out in the chat with us. Thank you guys for playing this game with us. Derek, thank you for running it. We ended up having a great group and having a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we streamed most of it, because now like we have the stuff we can look back on. We have the fun clips that we can watch and stuff like that, and I love it. The one last thing.
As long as you delete the goose, man.
No, never.
No.
Please.
Dude, please bring the Goose Man back. Make him goosier.
The
I'm
Fuck
unsubscribing.
the Gooseman voice was our first ever favorited TikTok.
I feel like the fact that it's a favorited TikTok makes Derek even madder.
It was the
TikTok
first
favorite.
ever of my TikToks that was added to someone's favorite is Derek's Gooseman voice.
That's hilarious.
Hate it.
That being said, if we do this Iris campaign later on, it is 100% absolutely no questions asked. Already got permission, actually was basically forced to do it. We'll start with Iris killing Orden, taking the Sun Swords, taking whatever armor and power that Orden has, and trying to twist it to her will. We will see you in another
Yes.
dimension.
That's so good.